Nadia thought she had married into a life of love and happiness. She was stepping into a world of wealth and elegance, a grand estate with golden gates, marble pillars, and luxury cars lining the driveway. As she stepped out of the car, her embroidered designer gown sparkled under the setting sun. But at the top of the grand staircase stood Madame Leila, her new mother-in-law, watching her with a cold, unreadable expression. This was not the warm welcome Nadia had hoped for. At dinner that night, Nadia sat across from Zain, her loving husband, at an extravagant dining table adorned with gold-trimmed plates and a sparkling chandelier overhead. But as she reached for a dish, Madame Leila gently placed a jeweled hand over hers and smiled. "A woman in this house must always carry herself with grace," she said softly, but her eyes held a warning. Zain simply smiled, unaware of the silent battle between his wife and his mother. Nadia swallowed her discomfort. She would soon realize this was just the beginning. Days later, Madame Leila called Nadia into an opulent dressing room filled with designer gowns, diamonds, and silk scarves. "Here, my dear," she said, placing an exquisite diamond necklace around Nadia's neck. For a moment, Nadia felt honored, until Madame Leila's next words. "When you wear this, remember, your place is under my guidance." Nadia froze. This was no gift. It was a leash. And from the doorway, Rana, Zain's cousin, and Zain watched with a smirk. Late one night, Madame Leila found Zain alone in the study. She sighed dramatically, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I worry for you, my son. I see things you do not. Nadia, she is not the woman you think she is." Zain frowned. "What do you mean?" "Trust me," she whispered. "One day you will see the truth." Outside the slightly open door, Nadia stood in the shadows, her heart pounding. Madame Leila was turning her own husband against her, but she kept quiet and pretended like she never heard anything. One evening, as Nadia explored an old jewelry box in her room, she found a letter hidden beneath layers of silk. The paper was old, its edges worn, but as she read the words, her blood ran cold. The letter spoke of a scandal Rena wrote against her to make her husband hate her, a lie that, if exposed, could destroy marriage. Suddenly, a shadow moved behind her. She turned. Someone was watching, she whispered to herself. The next day, dressed in a bold, shimmering gown, she stormed into the grand ballroom, where Madame Leila stood in a regal silk dress, a pearl necklace gleaming at her throat. "Why?" Nadia demanded. "Why did you lie? Why did you try to turn Zain against me?" And she gave the letter to Zain. Rana shifted nervously, knowing the truth was out. Zain stepped forward, his face torn with guilt. "Mother, is this true?" Madame Leila's mask of grace cracked for the first time. "Everything I did was to protect this family," she hissed. "You did it for yourself. You are angry that I didn't marry the woman you chose for me." "I'm so disappointed in you," Zain shouted. And he stormed out of the room. The next evening, under the golden hues of a setting sun, Nadia stood at the mansion gates. She was leaving. Dressed in a luxurious gown, her heart was heavy, but her resolve was strong. Zain stood at the top of the staircase, regret in his eyes, begging her not to leave him and professing his love for her. "I'm sorry, Zain. I can't live here knowing how much you mother hates and wants to destroy my life," Nadia said and walked away. Madame Leila watched from the window, her expression unreadable. Nadia took a deep breath, looked back at the mansion and stepped into the sleek black car and disappeared down the long road. She had lost a husband, but gained her freedom.